Midnight in the City of Steel. A Gilded Age mansion sits above the confluence like a jeweled sentinel, doors bolted from the inside. Windows latched, embers still whispering in the hearth. On the stair, a single silk glove. In the dressing room, a trunk half-packed for somewhere she never reached. And a woman socialite, benefactor, wife simply gone. No footprints in fresh snow. No carriage ruts at the gate. Just a silence so thick it feels like a second lock. And a husband whose eyes flicker like a candle starved of air. I've walked enough scenes to know when a house is lying. This one croons respectability, mahogany that drinks the light. Carpets imported to muffle truth. Portraits of ancestors who never blink. Everything is orderly, almost ceremonially so. That's the first tell. Real life is messy. Staged life is neat. The butler swears he secured the doors at 11. The cook insists she heard nothing but the clock and the river. The groom says no carriage touched the gravel drive. The husband always, the husband, never the man, repeats a tidy timeline like he's rehearsed it in a mirror. They retired early. A dream, a draft, an empty bed. He called her name into rooms that held their breath. And then the city woke to whispers, spiraling from parlor to parlor, from newsroom to corner bar. A wife with wealth enough to be envied. Gone as if the night had learned to swallow people whole. By dawn, the rumor mill screamed. In a town where fortunes rise on fire and soot, scandal burns hottest at the top. Was she ill and ashamed? Kidnapped for ransom? Did she bolt with a lover? Or had the evening curdled into something darker, a quarrel? A fall? A body hidden in places, architects designed for coal and secrets. Every theory arrived dressed as certainty, but none brought evidence to shake my hand. We worked the grounds, lanterns cutting fog to ribbons. We dragged the shallows where the river gathers other people's sins. We questioned coachmen, jewelers, modistes, music teachers, piano tuners, a seamstress who remembered rush alterations in evening gown taken in, as if the owner wanted to feel a different skin. A florist delivered hothouse, lily white waxen, and wrong for mid. On her escritoire, 2 scraps of a letter that never learned to be whole. I can live in. In what? A lie, a gilded cage, a shadow. The second half was missing. The way she was missing. Anger, I felt it. At the circus outside the gate, news, hawkers peddling tragedy by the column inch. Neighbors auditioning as experts because they once nodded to her in church. At the tight-lipped husband who counted alibis like banknotes, every detail precise. None of it breathing. At the way money can buy silence, and silence buys time, and time erases what embarrasses money. Frustration, every thread frayed. A maid swore she saw a note slide under a door. Later she swore she'd only imagined it. A neighbor remembered a carriage where none should be, then admitted he liked being consulted. Witnesses contradicted one another until their stories braided into a rope to knotted to pull. Pain. I met her sister, hands trembling over a locket, voice flitting between hope and dread. Grief is heavy, but the not knowing is heavier. The sister begged me to find a heartbeat in paperwork, to hear her laughter in the dead air of interviews. I wanted to promise. Investigators are trained not to promise. That night, I lied to myself instead. We'll break this. We inventoried her wardrobe. Something was off. A traveling cape missing. But the warm boots remained. Why dress a trunk and forget your feet? A passport sat untouched, but a small valise was gone. Her dressing mirror had a clean crescent where a photograph had been. Sunlight had bleached its memory into the silvering. Whoever took the photo knew to take the frame too. The mansion and I kept company for many evenings. Houses hold memory if you listen, not the supernatural sort, but the practical residue of living. Scratches near floorboards, smudges that mean a door is opened more than claimed. The way a rug wrinkles toward a hidden hinge. In the library, a bookcase grumbled when I leaned into it. Behind, a service passage no one mentioned, wide enough to move a person who didn't want to be seen or couldn't protest. We traced that corridor to a tradesman's entrance that didn't creak when the others did. The latch was oiled recently. Fresh scuffs on the stone step. Outside, boot prints muddled by a broom, not snow tracks. Broom tracks. The pattern of someone afraid of patterns. The night complicated itself. I've learned a hard rule. When reputations are at stake, truth goes missing first. The city's elite arrived as if paying condolences to an idea. They placed sympathy like flowers, beautiful, fragrant, and designed to wilt. Their questions were gentle. Their warnings were firmer. Let's not disturb the community. No need to traumatize the staff. Her health was delicate. There is a kind of velvet that muffles more than footsteps. Meanwhile, public imagination did what it always does when facts are few. It wrote its own story. Some said she'd been seen boarding a train, veiled but laughing, a stranger's hand at the small of her back. Others swore a ransom note had arrived, then been quietly paid. Still others pitched tragedies too neat to be real. A slip on polished stairs. A river hungry for headlines. A husband whose pockets were bottomless but patience wasn't. None of it landed where evidence likes to sit. So I returned to what would talk, if pressed: time, routine, and the small treacheries of habit. Her maid mentioned a locked drawer, newly used. Inside, A receipt for language lessons in a tongue no one in the household spoke. Why learn to say goodbye in a language your husband can't understand? A map with fairy routes, circled routes that take you away without asking questions. In her prayer book, a pressed sprig of heather with an address scribbled faint as a secret. When we reached that address, the room had been cleared to its corners, rug rolled, curtains gone, a debt paid in cash. Whoever she was with, or whoever helped her, they were thorough. Did she leave under her own power? Evidence whispered yes. Was she forced to that choice by something uglier inside the walls? She fled. Evidence cleared its throat and looked away. The cruelest mysteries are not the ones with the darkest acts. They are the ones built from 100 small compromises that turn a life into a stage set. Smiling photographs, perfect dinners, and the quiet arithmetic of someone subtracting herself day by day. The city moved on in that way cities do, absorbing the scandal like coal absorbs, heat leaving only a smudge no one admits to touching. But the house never quite cooled. The staff changed. The drapes changed. The story people told themselves changed. The staircase kept the memory of a glove. As an investigator, I carry 4 feelings from this case. Anger at how quickly strangers fed on her absence. Frustration at how money can flatten a search into polite inquiries. Pain for a sister who still listens for a key in a door that will not open. And resolve, because what we cannot prove, we can still learn from. If this story angered you, good anger can defend the living. If it pained you, let that pain make you gentle with the missing and the searching. If it frustrated you, join the work that keeps truth from disappearing behind velvet and money. Subscribe for more deep investigations and forgotten histories. Comment with what you think happened in that mansion and what we, as a community, should do differently. For her sake, and for those who might yet be saved. Let's choose a kind of attention that protects instead of consumes. Because the most chilling scandals aren't about ghosts and old houses. They're about the truths we allow to slip away.